In 7.3, we're going to see what happens when we can't factor out a number and we're going to have some number in front of the x squared. So it'll be something like ax squared plus bx plus c, where this number won't be a 1. Now there are multiple ways to do this. One of them is the AC method, and that is in the text part of your website. If you want to do that, you can. The method I'm going to show is just what I call the guessing game, but it's also a trial and error. And so the first thing we're going to do is, let's say we have negative 30x to the squared minus 25x plus 30. So the first thing I'm going to do is factor what I can. I can factor out a 5 from everything, but notice I have a negative sign here. I want to factor that out too, because we never want the x squared term to be negative. So I'm going to factor out a negative 5. Negative 30x squared divided by negative 5 is now positive 6x squared. Negative 25x divided by negative 5 is positive 5x. And positive 30 divided by negative 5 is minus 6. Okay, so now we're going to keep the negative 5, but we have this. We have a number in front of this, x squared, and a number here. So now what we have to do is factor both of them. So our factors that exist for the 6 are 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. Our factors for this 6 are 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. So now the way I do these is basically kind of the guessing game. And so what we have to do is find one of these sets and one of these, so that if we were to do FOIL, we would get our original answer back. And so it's going to be, our middle term is going to be based on, with FOIL, the outer and the inner when we multiply. So on all of these, I really highly recommend that you FOIL it to see if you got the right answer, if you're using this method. Okay, so also I say to pick to start with, the one where the numbers are closer to each other for this first one. So I'm going to pick the 2x and the 3x. Now the reason I say to pick that one first is because normally, like 80% of the time, that's the one that's going to be right. So use it first to start with. And now you just need to find 2 times one of these. Okay, first, this is a minus, so we're going to have 1 plus and 1 minus. And this is a situation where we don't want to put the plus and minus in before we start. So we have to say 2 times one of these factors minus 3 times one of these factors equals 5. So we know that we're going to have to pick some of these numbers. So we're going to do a kind of a guessing game, or we can kind of look at what we have here. 2 times something and 3 times something when we subtract to get to 5. Let's just look at the 1 and the 6. If we said 2 times 6, that would be 12, and then 3 times 1, that's just 3. 12 minus 3 doesn't equal 5. So we know that that's not going to be right. So we know that 2 and 3 are going to be in here. And it's either going to be 2 and 3 or 3 and 2. And again, we can kind of guess by what we're looking at and figure it out, because 2 times 3 is 6, which isn't much bigger than 5. And 3 times 2 is also 6. That's not going to work. But if we put the 2 here and the 3 here, we would have 2x times 2, which is 4x, and 3 times 3x, which is 9x. If we subtract 9x minus 4x, we will get 5x. So now, the way we say which sign we do it is whichever one of these multiplications is bigger. So since the 9x is bigger, that means this 3 is the plus, and this one is the minus. Again, on these ones, do FOIL to see if you got it right. What I did is I just did the outer and the inner to see if I'm getting the right number, and then I put the signs in. After you do that, FOIL it out to see if you get back to what you are here. And if you get everything the same except for this sign being wrong, then switch these two signs. But here, 2x times 3x is 6x squared. 2x times negative 2 is minus 4x. 3 times 3x is plus 9x. 3 times negative 2 is minus 6. When we combine like terms, we'll have 6x squared plus 5x minus 6, which is what we had here. And so this will be our correct answer. So another one, let's say that we have 18x squared minus 63x minus 36. So on this, I can factor out a 9, so I'm going to. 9, and we're left with 2x squared minus 7x minus 4. Okay, now this one makes it easier because the term, or the coefficient of the x squared term is a prime number. So our only choices for this one are 1 and 2. So I'm going to put a 2x and an x. 2x times 1x is 2x squared. And my choices now for 4 are 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. So now, because we have a minus sign here, that means we have to subtract to get to 7. So some of these are actually a little bit easier on the choices here, because one of these multiplications, 2 times one of these and 1 times one of these, has to be bigger than a 7 because we have to subtract to get to 7. And the only way we can do that is 2 times 4. So the 2 has to go opposite of the 4, and that means this is a 1. And that also means because this was a minus, this is a minus, and this is a plus. So now let's do a FOIL and see if we got it right. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times negative 4 is minus 8x. 1x plus times x, or 1 times x is plus x. 1 times negative 4 is minus 4. When we combine like terms, we'll have 2x squared minus 7x minus 4. So that one we got right. Okay, so this last one, let's say we have 15x squared plus 26x plus 8. Let me write this a little bit neater. Okay, so we can't factor anything out. So what we need to do is find our factors of 15. We have 1 times 15, 3 times 5. For 8, we have 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. Again, for your first guess, use the numbers that are closer to each other. So I'm going to use a 3x and a 5x. And because we have two pluses here, we're going to have plus and plus. This is a plus, so that means we have to add up to 26. So we have to say 3 times one of these plus 5 times one of these is going to equal 26. So let's look at one that we can't do for sure. If we put an 8 opposite the 5, 8 times 5 is 40. That's bigger than 26. So we know we can't do that. If we put an 8 here and a 1 here, 3 times 8 is 24, and 5 times 1 is 5. 24 plus 5 is bigger than 26. So we can't use that. So we know we're going to have to use the 2 and the 4. So what we want to do is get somewhere where we're going to get 3 times one of these plus 5 times one of these equals 26. So I'm going to do it wrong first. I'm going to put 4 and 2, like that. So do the FOIL. 3x times 5x is 15x squared. 3x times 4 is plus 12x. 2 times 5x, or 2 times 5x is plus 10x. And 2 times 4 is plus 8. 12x plus 10x equals 22, not 26. So what I need to do is rearrange these two and put 4 and 2. Now let's do FOIL and see if we got it right. 3x times 5x is 15x squared. 3x times 2 is plus 6x. 4 times 5 is plus 20x. 4 times 2 is plus 8. We keep 15x squared. 6x plus 20x equals 26x and plus 8. So this will be our answer for this one. These ones take a while to do, so give yourself time to do them. Again, if you go through the video part of the textbook and the examples, you can try the other method, and that's where you're multiplying numbers to each other and seeing what works. This way, for me, is a little bit easier and normally faster. There are going to be some times when, for the first term, the numbers that are closer to each other don't work. And again, that's just going to be trial and error. But the easiest ones are if this number in front of the x squared is either a 2, a 3, a 5, or a 7. Because then you know what to pick. It's going to be 1x times that number x.